The case of Securities and Exchange Commission versus Commission on Audit examines whether the SEC's use of retained income for a provident fund was valid and if the approving officers were liable for refunding disallowed contributions. Let's break down the facts, the issue, and the Supreme Court's ruling. The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) created a provident fund for its employees through Resolution Number 31, Series of 2002. Under this scheme, the SEC contributed 15% of an employee's basic salary, and employees contributed 3% from their salary. These funds came from the SEC's retained income, which is authorized under Section 75 of the Securities Regulation Code, SRC, allowing the SEC to retain and utilize up to PHP 100 million from its income. However, the Commission on Audit, COA, disallowed the use of PHP 19,723,444.66 from the SEC's retained earnings, arguing that the General Appropriations Act, GAA, of 2010 states that retained income should only be used for maintenance and other operating expenses, MOLE, and capital outlay, CO, not for personal services, such as provident fund contributions. The SEC challenged the disallowance, claiming that its retained income is an off-budget account, not subject to congressional appropriations under the GAA, and that a prior Department of Budget and Management, DBM, letter gave the SEC discretion over how to use its retained income. Despite these arguments, the COA upheld the disallowance, ruling that the approving officers were held solidarily liable for the amount, while employees were excused from refunding contributions they had received in good faith. The issue at hand is whether the COA validly disallowed the allocation of PHP 19.7 million from the SEC's retained income for the Provident Fund, and if the approving officers are liable to refund the disallowed amount. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the COA, upholding the disallowance and the liability of the approving officers. The court ruled that retained income is still public money and remains subject to government auditing rules under the GAA, and that the SEC's retained income must be spent according to legal limitations, which restricted its use to MOLE and capital outlay, excluding personal services like provident fund contributions. Since approving officers authorized an unlawful expenditure, they were solidarily liable for refunding the disallowed amount, while employees were exempt from repayment, as they received the funds in good faith. This case highlights the importance of proper fund allocation in government agencies. Even when an agency has financial discretion, it must ensure that expenditures comply with existing laws and budgetary limitations. The ruling reinforces accountability in public spending, ensuring that government funds are used strictly within their authorized purposes.